Dimes to Miss Illy. And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, Miss Illy? How you feeling?
I'm feeling lovely today. How are you?
I'm good, man. This weather down here got me feeling amazing. All this sun, some vitamin D. You got to feel good about that. You know what I mean?
Yes, I just came in from the outside, so I'm feeling nice and refreshed and ready to talk some shit today.
I love it. What do you call it? I love the topics for today. Oh my God, yo, you hit it right on the head. You sent it to me earlier. I was looking at it. I was like, there's a lot there to talk about, man. There's a lot of interesting stuff. One of the things that you brought up, topic number one, was do opposites attract? I'm going to let you take the lead because you brought the topic up. So I'm assuming you have a lot to say about it. I do have some thoughts, so I'm definitely going to chime in, but I would definitely want to hear what you have to say. Do opposites attract when it comes to a relationship? Is that true? Does it in the end not work out? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so I posed the question because I was talking to a friend of mine who had an issue with the music that some young lady that he was talking to listened to. And it was like, is that a deal breaker? Is that not a deal breaker? And music is just one thing, but there could be that could be an outdoorsy person and you like to sit and watch movies. They could be a very religious person and you're a heathen, so I think that opposites attract. Honestly, I think long term it's bullshit. You may attract initially. I think sometimes a lot of what you don't have in yourself, you might be attracted to in another person. But I think when it comes to like core things or like even your hobbies, things that you do on a regular basis, if you guys are just on the total opposite end of the spectrum, it could cause some issues unless everybody's willing to, compromise or just be happy with the fact that your partner is not into what you're into. But then, does that limit your quality time together? Again, it depends what we're talking about here. I think like religion, if you're two opposite religions, obviously we've seen it work. There are millions of examples, maybe not millions, but definitely lots of examples out there. But then there's probably just as many examples of when it didn't work, long term. So that's just my stance. I would like to have some things in common with my partner. I don't want to be like two completely different worlds.
Okay, so you said something that I absolutely agree with. You talked about core values. Okay. In my book, I have a chapter that's called A Couple That Grows Together. Okay. All right. And this is just my belief. Obviously, people could have a million and one thoughts on this about whether opposites attract. I found at the end of the day, it's about balance. Okay. There's certain areas in your life where the opposite balances you out. If you're to the extreme, let's say I'm very artistic minded, like with the way my mind works. It's good that my partner is very, how would I call it? She's into like the details of things, and she's very kind of like detail oriented, and that's what she does. Where my mind floats and it imagines and it thinks, and it's good to have that opposite where somebody's going to be like, okay, that's the dream. Cool. Okay, I like the vision. Let me kind of put it in a box for you so I could organize it. Because if not, I'd be all over the place. Never get anything done. Dream on to the next thing. She helps me keep focused and stay, okay, look, this is where you're at. This is what we can do. And it kind of, that's balance. Okay. But then there's, like you said, there's core values. There's beliefs. There's what are your thoughts on family? All right. Now, here's the deal. It doesn't necessarily have to be exact. Right. When I say, what are your thoughts on family? There may be one partner that says, well, I'm all about legacy. I'm all about building a business so that my family could be happy and we could whatever. Okay. And then the other person is saying, well, I'm all about the home, nurturing, everything be calm, everybody be here, loving. You would think from the outside that doesn't match, right? I don't agree with that. I say, you know what? That's actually the perfect. If one person can kind of like, if they can come to a little bit of compromise where one kind of understands that the other person is like that and they can match up, because the core value is not how they handle their family, is that they both absolutely love their family and put their family at the forefront of their life. So it's
Right.
not so much within the category as much as where you place the category. So to me, let's say it's the love of your family. Oh, that is priority. As opposed to, I love my family. I'm with my family every weekend. And then you have somebody that like, I don't fuck with family. I'm a loner. Hell no, we're not going over there. I don't want to be anywhere near your family. I don't want my family around. I want us to leave and be over here. See, that's not going to align. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Now, let's say we both love our family, but one is constantly wants them over, where the other one says, look, I don't really want a lot of people in the house, but I'd rather go there. You know, we still both love our family. So I think it's where you put the actual category as far as that's concerned. And I feel like if there's balance within the opposites, where one person's an extreme and the other person is, again, so let's say now, here's another thing. Don't get me wrong. If somebody is in the streets all the time, you know what I'm saying, and you're somebody that likes to go out, but you rather be home, you know what I mean? Yeah, that could become a problem. You know what I'm saying? It can become an issue. Things like that can evolve. But then again, that's not core. That's more so like, yo, can we compromise? Can we kind of like agree, like, hey, listen, every now and then, can I get a Saturday? You know what I'm saying? Can I get a Saturday all to myself without you disappearing and going out? Things like that. Now, so in the book, I talk about a couple that grows together. In a couple that grows together, I talk about how a man should have his. I don't want to use the word life because that kind of maybe gets like a. It might be misconstrued what I'm trying to say, but a man has to have um, his hobbies, his life, his motivation, the things that kind of get him moving. A woman also has to do that. Okay, she has to have her own hobbies, friends, things that she can go to outside of the relationship.
Right.
But then, okay, so that's how they grow. That's how they grow as individuals, the man and the woman, because they can't neglect that part of them. Because people will remember their husband, they'll remember their father, they'll remember their wife, a mother. They forget, I'm a man, you're a woman. That's the part that they forget. And they kind of get attached and entangled, or whatever you want to call it, and they forget that. So if we can remember that part, you know, you can have a night out with the boys, some poker night, stuff like, yeah, you can go out at night with the girl, cool, whatever. We grow. But then I feel like there has to be something that bonds you. Okay. So you grow apart, but there's one thing that's unique to your relationship that every relationship has. If you look at relationships and you find people that have been married 35, 40 years and you talk to them long enough, you'll find that there's this one thing that they built their life around, that they center. A lot of people use religion. They'll be like, we revolve our life around the church.
Right.
I always give the example of my neighbor. My neighbor, his wife will be gardening, right? And no, his wife is the president of the association, so she's always out in the offices doing her thing, and he's here gardening. And you're like, you talk to them, and you're like, yo, you know, what's the key? And that's his words. He's like, you know, I like to do this. She likes to be a busybody. I'm an introvert. She's an extrovert. So whatever. But there is one thing. So he was telling me about how, you know, they're united by faith. They love each other. This, that, blah, blah, blah. He said something that caught my attention. He said, she makes me laugh. And I looked and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Because I have that. So I love people that make me laugh. So I'm like, tell me more about that. And he says to me, when I was young and poor, and he's a multimillionaire, he's like, when I was young and poor, we can go to New York, have a drink, and she could make me laugh. We didn't need any money. We would laugh together. We would crack up. As we got older, we found, you know, we would have our date nights in the house. We would watch funny movies. We never watched any of it. Was always funny movies. That's what we bonded on. We have our own inside jokes. We're very, you know, kids look at us and they don't get our jokes, but we get it.
Right.
To the point where they rent a Winnebago for 1 week a year and they disappeared. No kids, no grandkids, nobody's allowed to go. Just them two. And they used to go to the Montreal, not this year because of COVID, but they would go to the Montreal Comedy Festival. Just them two. And they would disappear into comedy, right? And basically what he was saying is they found something that bonded them and they built a life around it. So although they are opposites, okay, in a lot of personality areas and a lot of different things, their core values aligned. And then what they did was they found the one thing that matched them the most that they had in common. You know, I know people who play cards together. That's their thing. I know
Right.
people who go to church together. That's it.
Whatever your thing is, and I think like his example is kind of going to what I said earlier too, is like it can work if both people respect the differences, you know, because a lot of times it's like they want to change. You know, I like to garden, so I need you to come garden with me, or I want to be out and about, so I need you to be running the streets with me. But it's like, listen, respect who that person is. If you can do that, you can not only allow them to be them, but you can also possibly learn from them and add something new to your life that, you know, wasn't part of your thing. But a lot of people don't respect it. I think we spend a lot of time trying to change one another and mold people into what we want them to be versus accepting them for what they are and what they can bring to our lives.
Now, you know, I will add this part of it because, you know, yeah, we could say, but then there is an argument for why it doesn't work. Part of the argument for why it doesn't work is, like you said earlier, I'll give you an example. Like I couldn't be with somebody who loves to go mountain hiking. Physically, I can't do that. I just can't. You know what I'm saying?
What if they don't want you to? So if I like to go mountain hiking, but I'm going to do it, you know, twice a month. That's cool. You don't like to, you don't want to, you can't, whatever. That's cool with me. I'm just going to do that.
No, that's cool. See, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where this person revolves their life around this is my thing. And you know what? When we go on vacations, where I want to sit on a beach with a pina colada, no, they want to be up a mountain climbing Mount Everest. And I'm looking at them like, this isn't going to work. Because eventually, if you compromise, if you overcompensate, eventually you start feeling resentful. You know what I mean? It's like, why is it that we're always doing what you want to do? You know what I mean? So like the key is core values have to align. Once those things align, everything else is kind of negotiable, right? Unless somebody has something that's non-negotiable. Like, you know, if you're a mountain climber, it's in you by nature. That's what you want to do. That's who you are. I'll give you an example. I'm not a fighter. You know what I'm saying? That's not my deal. Never has been. Regardless of what I've done as far as my jobs and stuff, where I've had to like, you know, sometimes get physical and stuff like that. It's not my preferred angle. Right. So if I'm with a woman that is aggressive and enjoys that, like, what? Oh my God, what are you doing? And enjoys that conflict, it's not going to work. That is absolutely not going to work. You know what I mean? That's where, to me, opposites don't attract. Because I look at you like, yeah, it's time for me. I'm not, because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm the one getting jumped. You're yelling. I'm the one getting jumped. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, things like that. What do you call it? If you're a drinker and you like to party, you know what I'm saying? I think sometimes that works. I'm sober. I'll drive us home. Cool. Now, if you're getting sloppy drunk, pissing in your pants, falling, right? And I'm sober. Now that's a difference. Now that's where opposite. So there's a fine line. There's a fine line as far as where the opposite becomes too much. You know what I mean? Obviously, the core is the key, but then there's a fine line where it goes over, and you're like, it's just not going to work. As much as I care about you, I don't see this. It's not. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be unfulfilled. You don't want to be unhappy. You don't want to sit there and like, you know, wonder like, have you ever had somebody that, you know, you care for them, they're attractive, you love them, they're amazing, but their lifestyle is just not in alignment with the way you live your life. They're fly by the seat of their pants, and you're more so like decision making, okay, making moves, calculating, right? Yeah, and they're kind of all over the place, and you're like, no, because at the end of the day, you see how that's going to affect you if you're a couple. You know what I mean? So there's definitely certain areas. Like you see finances. Finance is one of the reasons called divorce in marriages, right? Because I've seen this example, you'll have the husband, they reach a certain level of income, they're doing okay. And all of a sudden the husband, or the wife, but I'm Jesus, wants to start buying Benzes and this and that and showing out, you know? And she's looking at him like, that's not the prudent thing to do. That's not really this. I don't mind driving my little car. Why are we, you know? And then all of a sudden they start to argue, they start to fight, and but why are you handling the money? Why, you know what I mean? So if you can't get that aligned, and you're opposites in that area, like money, it's not going to work, man. It really isn't, because that's one of the things that At least in my experience, women need that security. You know what I mean? And men tend to be a little more fly to the seat of their pants type of thing. Like, it'll be all right. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be all right. And nothing grabs a woman by the neck. Like, it's not gonna be fine. We have negative $10 in the account. What is your problem? And you're looking at them like, no, I got this. Don't, you know what I'm saying? And that shit doesn't work. When somebody's nervous and they grew up. The other one is this. There's couples like where one side grew up lacking, where their family didn't have, and they come from a poor income, and the other person is used to always having, and they're in a relationship, and one person is hoarding, tightening up, making sure that they have for the rainy day, and the other one's like, what? It's just like this. Like, we can spend. It's okay. Let's just move. So that's why I see finances as being one of those core things where you could absolutely not. You have to be on the same page. You absolutely have to be on the same page when it comes to finances. You know, faith, religion. I don't know. Not always. You know, sometimes sometimes
we
your wife.
Examples of it working.
Yeah,
I guess it's an exception to every rule, you know. But generally speaking, I think, like you said, those core elements need to be in alignment. Otherwise, there's a lot of head bumping.
Well, you know, I mean, like you said, there's plenty of examples where it works. There's plenty that it doesn't. I guess that's one of those things where case by case basis, some people, you know, deal well in that. Well, speaking of opposites, you brought up a topic. You sent me a topic about the alpha beta dynamic. Okay, whether it's an alpha female and a beta male, or a beta female alpha male type thing, and what the dynamic is, and does it work, or does one have to be the other? How does it work? What is your opinion on that? What are your...
So I don't know, because it honestly really is something that just kind of was brought to my awareness in this way. This guy that I follow, he gives like relationship advice, and he posed the question to women, because he's like, you know how women are, we're always walking around, especially the modern woman, like, I'm an alpha female, you know, I handle my business, I don't need a man, da da da. And it was like, if a man came into a room talking about, I'm a beta man, you know, would that be attractive to you as a woman? And I was like, yeah, definitely not. But then I don't know, I guess so the question too is like, you know, is that accurate where men are turned off by alpha women, or is it only an alpha man that's turned off by alpha women? Maybe a beta man is better paired with, and this is kind of to the original question, like, where do opposites really attract? Because like, can two alphas coexist in harmony, or do you require the opposite? And I think logic would dictate that they need to be opposite, because you can't have two alphas, you know what I'm saying, in reality and how it really works. But a lot of times, I think women especially, they want an alpha man, but are walking around calling themselves alpha females. So how does that work? And how does that look even from a guy's perspective?
First, I'm going to address the actual topic, which is when you're talking about comparing whether they agree. Then I'm going to just shit on the whole idea of alpha female, beta female, alpha male. I just despise that whole concept. I despise it. Okay. But I'll go into that. The first thing is, if I'm going to be in that world and I'm going to talk about it, I will say this. Women tend to lead with their resume. They lead with their resume when they're approaching men, and that in their mind is what makes them an alpha female. Okay. If you can take a peek into a window of a man's mind, that's not what makes a woman an alpha female. She's using, you see, women will talk about a patriarchal society and how they're against it and they want to fight that. But then they take on the patriarchal style and put it on themselves instead of creating their own. You know what I mean? So now they're coming to you and they're saying, I'm an alpha female because I fit this male stereotype where he's this, and that. No, in a man's mind, you're an alpha female when you are the nurturer the alpha nurturer, where you're the one that I look at you, and this is just the way I look, and I know a lot of my friends, the guys that I talk, how we look at the female. If you're hard and we don't see you as the mother of a child, or we don't, not necessarily the mother of a child, because let's eliminate that. Some women can't have children. It has nothing to do with that. But let's say I look at you and I say a nurturer when it comes to me, somebody that's gonna when is gonna love my darkness, somebody that's gonna help me when I'm down, somebody that's gonna fill the gaps in my life. When those are the alpha females, that's what we look at as an alpha female. Okay? A woman that doesn't need a man, is independent, is whatever, cool. That's fine. You be that. But be that alone. Because that's not what I need in my life right now. Now, don't get me wrong. Once a man falls in love, see, here's the thing. I tell people this all the time. And I know I'm exaggerating when I make the point, but a man that is in love with you or looks at you and is into you doesn't give a shit if you can read. We don't care. Because it's how about how you make us feel.
That should be a little.
I will say this. Wait. I will say this. Once I fall in love with you, now your resume matters. Once I fall in love with you, now your resume matters, because now I'm invested in you, and that resume affects me, and we're gonna.
But then now it might be too late. Now you're all head over heels.
That's why I say I'm exaggerating. That's why I say I'm exaggerating. But the truth is, your accolades, those are yours. Your money, that's yours. Has nothing to do with me. I can care less. Oh, cool. How many in my life? I've dated many successful women, many, right? Very, very, very top of the food chain successful women, right? And I look at them and I'm like, okay, cool. You still got cheated on. So what? It didn't help you. It didn't fix anything. Your education did not prevent you from getting cheated on. It didn't prevent you from fucking getting treated like shit. It didn't help you in any single way. Right. It didn't make you it didn't put a shield around you saying, now I'm not going to put up with his bullshit. Because that's a lie. Because I know plenty of women that have advanced degrees that are doing their damn thing, $400,000 a year, all this shit. And you know who they get cheated on? By a guy that uses his finger to read. And the apple said that's who the fuck they're getting cheated on. You know what I'm saying? You know who they're fucking getting cheated on? They're getting cheated on by homeboy. They're talking about, yo, man, my unemployment check ain't coming. Man, I got to re-up for unemployment. That's who they're fucking getting cheated on. So to think that that's going to shield you or protect you, that's bullshit. It's not. As a matter of fact, I always talk about this. You'll meet a chick that's not as accomplished, not as whatever, but has this quality where she's sweet, she's genuine to you, she looks at you. The hardest woman to cheat on is the one that asks the simple questions, not the one that tries to outthink you. The one that tries to outthink you, you want to play that game? Dude, let's do it. I got the excuses on deck. Oh, here, look at my phone. Check my phone. I don't care. Why? Because my real phone's in the trunk. I don't give a shit. You thought you out, you know what I'm saying? You're outthinking me? Go ahead, outthink me. The ones that are hardest to cheat on are the ones that look at you like, okay, but why? And you're like, now all of a sudden you're dancing because you're like, oh shit, that's such a simple question. But fuck, I'm ready for the complex. I'm not ready for the so simple. You know what I'm saying? So now, okay, so you have an alpha female. She comes to you with that, and no. A lot of times, here's where I destroy the whole concept. There's people, I don't believe you could be a broad alpha. A broad alpha. Life requires balance. People require balance. Okay? So being a broad alpha means that you are an alpha in every part of your life. You're not Jesus. No, you're not. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's men that are professional. They're, eloquent. They dress nice. They're amazing, but they're fucking emotional betas. You know what I'm saying? They're physically alphas, body, sharp, career, blah, blah, blah. And that aspect of their life, they're an alpha. But then you talk to them or you deal with them on another, and they're fucking emotional morons, and they're a beta. So that's how I believe it is. It's balance. It's not everybody. You're not Jesus. You're not perfect in every area of your life.
Then, okay. because then my thing is like, is that person really an alpha, or they just happen to be good at work? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like
No,
that's a personality type, and wherever you go, there you are. So yeah, you might be top tier at work, but that for me is not the only signifying factor of an alpha male. And it goes more to like what you said, like their emotional and mental state when you come home and the door is closed, like how.
exactly. Who think about who you know, right? It's life is, to me, life is about balance. Anywhere you put energy, it's going to take a little bit from another area. So if you are focused, you're this, you're that, you're that, cool. It doesn't mean you're a bad person in another area. It doesn't mean you're terrible, whatever. It just means you're not as strong. And if you're not as strong, and we're holding that alpha to a standard, well, then you're not going to be in another area. If you look around, you'll see that all around with just people in general. We look for balance. We look for we're a balance. There's only so much of ourselves we can distribute. Okay. Yes, we can excel,
But
but
how
there's
much
only so much.
balance? Because again, like even as a woman, you know, I might see that guy that has the good job and the career and he appears to be an alpha man, but then if he comes home and he's a bitch, like that's not balance I'm looking for in anybody personally.
Yeah, it's no, not up. You see, you used the word bitch, right? Now I'm gonna flip it like this.
I use bad words. I don't mean
No,
bitch,
it's fine,
but
but it's
like
funny because a lot of times, right, the most successful women, at least in my life, the most successful women that I've come across, you know what they were dying for? They were dying for somebody to ground them and say, it's going to be okay. Come here. Let me make the decisions for you. Slow down. They were dying for an emotional alpha. That's what they were dying for. These
but
women
isn't
that are
that emotional?
CEOs, top notch. Yo, a lot of them, what they were looking for is, I'm in charge all day. I'm a boss all day. I tell people what to do. You think I want to come home and do that shit? Because that's what an alpha does. An alpha is not, like I said, if we're going to describe it as a broad, they are the person they are across the board. So if they're the leader here, they're the leader here. And a lot of times, I look, people tend to want to do the opposite of what they do at work. If you're highly social, if you've ever dated a stripper, not you, but if people, man, have ever dated a stripper, you will understand what I mean. You think that this sexy, beautiful chick that's on stage dancing, doing all this stuff, naked,
Oh,
whatever, right,
yeah.
is going to come home and do that? You're out of your fucking mind. You might get it a little bit, but guess what? You know what she's wearing 90% of the day? A baggy sweater and big sweats. Because by nature, we want to do the opposite. You want to come home and it has to be your sanctuary, right? So people that claim to be this cross the board person. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Again, you could be a leader, right? You're a leader of men, or a leader of family, a leader of people. Yes, you could be the alpha, right? But there's always a part of your life where you relinquish that control. Not because you want to, because you can still fight for it. Say, no, I'm in charge here. I'm the alpha. But there's parts of your life where you just don't have that kind of control. You know what I mean? So like to look at people and say, you are this, you're labeled as that. I always, in my book, I talk about the example. It's sensitive, not soft, right? Is the chapter that I'm talking about.
Okay.
There's this guy, he's well built, right? A good looking guy, well built, strong, goes on vacation to Puerto Rico with his girl. While they're out there, there's an earthquake. Yo, this big guy that is an alpha, career man, when an emergency hit, fucking panicked. Panicked. This girl had to grab him, calm down. You know what I'm saying? Under pressure. Because again, there's people that when everything is right, I am this. When disaster hits, oh my God, what the fuck do we do?
Well, I think that's
You know?
the true test, and that's why I think. Well, finish with your story, but go ahead, finish your story.
No, so she blacks out. She has to slap him around. Stop that, relax. Ah. Now, something shook up the relationship that day, and it was not the earthquake. Forever looking at him like, I don't give a fuck what you try to pretend to be. This is who you are. Because it's not who you are when shit is good. It's who you are when you're bare. Who are
Fact.
you in your moment of weakness? It's not about what you do, it's how you act. And how you act is what determines whether if you want to put that label of alpha and beta. That's who you are. I'm not
Right.
judging
That's what I was
anybody.
gonna say. I feel like there's a lot of people walking around slapping titles on themselves that they don't necessarily deserve because, like you said, maybe their career is on point. And I think especially for women, it's like, oh, I've gotten to this point. Like you said, I've adopted and used this patriarchal perspective as the goal, to reach. And so I put that on myself. So I'm an alpha female, but then are you really? Because yeah, like when shit hits the fan, or like not even chaos, but just how do you really handle
I will
life?
do you this. I will say this to you, right? Is the woman that is the CEO or the partner in a law firm and all that stuff, right? Is she more of an alpha than a woman that leads a household with 4 children, a husband, make sure that these kids were raised, go to college? Is she more of an alpha than that person?
No,
To
not
me, to
necessarily.
me, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? See, again, the other thing is you'll because it's that man, almost a man label, that patriarch label. It's like, does that make you tough? How many women do you know, right? I always believe you get more flies with honey. What is it? You get more bees with honey than you do with shit. You know what I'm saying? So women will try to adopt that male. No, because I'm in a man's world, I have to act to get it. You're in the business world. That's what you have to do. Cool. But when you come home, that attitude is not getting you anywhere. You know what I mean? And in my experience, women will get whatever they want when they look at me and go, why are you talking to me? Like very soft, very smooth. The women that come at me with the, yo, what, what the fuck did it? It's over. Why didn't you just tell me you wanted to break up? I don't deal that shit. I don't handle that. I swear to
Right.
God, look, if anybody could have a conversation with my girlfriend right now, in the very, very beginning, I said to her, if you ever want to break up with me, yell at me in public. If you yell at me in public or you embarrass me in public, my pride will not let me do it. As much as I love you and I care about you, I will look at you and just say, okay, cool. Walk the fuck away and never call you again. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe you get more more bees with honey than you do with shit. You come at me, you talk. Now, is the woman that gets what she wants? See, that's the other thing, right? We associate, like, we give these titles because in our mind, tough is good, submissive, quote unquote, is bad. And we put these labels out there, and I don't believe they exist. I do not believe they exist. I believe you have a woman, right? And she wants to spend $10,000 remodeling the kitchen, right? And she goes to her husband and she goes to him, sweetie, baby, I'm gonna let you think about it. And she takes her way and knows how to approach it, but she gets what she wants. Okay, that's an alpha to me. She got what she wanted at the end of the day. She knew how to grab the situation and get what she wanted. Whether she did it sweet and nice or looked at him and said, well, I don't fucking need you because I got my own money. I'm going to just pay for it. Da-da-da. How does that make you an alpha female? What is, because you had your own money? As a matter of fact, I would say, fuck that. She's smarter because she did the collective. So let's say she's still pocketing 10,000 in her own bank account. So she could use the collective to pay her. And now you're out 10 G's because you did the shit on your own. So who's really the alpha female? Who's the small? If I was in the wild, who the fuck would I follow? Would I follow the individual that knows where she can find water? Or would I follow the individual that could find water for me, my kids, or understands that if we find water, where to put it, you know what I'm saying? Like where to hide the food so the scavengers don't get it? She's like, who do I follow in the wild? I follow this one. She's the alpha to me. That's why I like that description. Like I said, and when men use it, if you have to call yourself an alpha, you're not an alpha. You are not. Leadership is influence. John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That means if I can get the group to do what I want to do, right, by my influence, by how I approach it, by how I submit the idea, I'm the alpha. If I have to say, no, I'm the boss, I'm the alpha, everybody has to listen to me. You ever been on a job and the boss is not really the boss?
Right.
I've worked jobs, right? When I worked in juvenile detention, there was a situation where like I guess it was the lieutenant or one of the captains came in and they were trying to push shit around and move and everybody da 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 da, right? And when they came in, we kind of just looked at them like, and one of the sergeants at the time was like, nah, guys, look, this is how we're gonna approach it. Because this guy was all rah rah, let's go, kick ass. And this one came in, no, this is how we're gonna approach it. Let me walk in first, I'll talk to the kid, and then you guys come in and we'll figure this out. We didn't listen to the boss. We listened to our sergeant because he had the influence over us. In that scenario, I didn't care that he was pumping his chest, calling himself the alpha. This guy was the alpha on that scenario, in that stage. So that's why I say, I'm like, no, we can't. You can't put that label on. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in what is the circumstance? What is the scenario? In an emergency, are you the alpha? When shit is down, so like there's different types of emergencies. There's when there's a disaster and you have to step up and save a life. There's my mother just died. You feel me? I need this. So you know what I'm saying? So there could be the guy that when shit goes down, I'm there giving CPR, I'm fake, da-da-da. But when my mother dies, he's looking at me like, do I hug her? Do I not? Are you okay? That's not what the fuck you need. You know what I'm saying? He's not an alpha in that situation. And I know I may be completely off.
At all. That's going to be my question. Like, if you are not an alpha in every situation, are you really an alpha at all?
Okay, so under my definition, it doesn't exist. So I wouldn't even give the label because of the reasons I'm saying. So under my definition, because different scenarios require different levels and people can't always live up to those levels. So nobody's Jesus. That's in my opinion. That's what it is. So it doesn't exist. Under your definition, where let's say you have to give somebody the label, no, then no. Nobody is nobody's like, you could be the alpha of your family. You can be the alpha at your job. You can be the alpha, like I said, in a disaster. But I don't think you could just do it across the board. I don't know anybody. Do you know anybody who's perfect in every scenario?
It's just not about being perfect. I think it's just their state of being. And I would say I don't know any women, but I do know a couple of males that from my experience with them have displayed that. And because I don't look at alpha as necessarily being aggressive and I'm taking charge. And so, like you said, it's about influence. And I think you can be that even when you're not necessarily in charge and not the boss in any given experience, whether it's a natural disaster like a hurricane or earthquake, or if it's the sergeant coming in, saying XYZ, but you trying to make it another thing. I think that if you are that, you personify that in every space of being. And that doesn't mean that you have to puff out your chest every chance you get. Sometimes it even is knowing when to lead your flock, into another direction because there is danger or whatever, you know what I mean? So
here's the thing, right? There will always, okay, under that definition, that's different than the original thing where it was alpha, beta, and this is more so if you're saying in your state of being where you're confident, you approach things with a certain mindset, you stay clear. I can agree with that, okay? I can agree with that. But if we're taking that definition, yes, because you can be that and still not be economically set.
Facts. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's what I was trying to say though. I don't think if we're gonna go alpha, I don't think it's attached to a dollar figure. I don't think it's attached. I think it goes by, like you said.
That's what I was saying too. Like I think people slap these titles on themselves because they have acquired XYZ. Now the reality is, I think in a lot of times you meet an alpha male, he probably is better off, and if he's not well off, he's at least handling himself, you know what I'm saying? And I've never met that guy that was just down and out, and I would still consider him to be an alpha. Like he might still be struggling, it might be but he's handling what he got to handle, he's moving forward, there's no pity parties and that, what I'm saying?
So you never had to deal with anybody in jail. You go to jail, let me tell you something, down and out, and you will find the shot caller who's the alpha.
That's a fact.
In a gang, yo,
Mm-hmm.
down and out, in the middle of the hood, da da da. You will find somebody in that group who's the alpha. I worked in group homes, in juvenile detention centers. There was definitely an alpha. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I tell you, it's about leadership of.
I'm not saying it when I say down and out, I'm talking about a man that's on the streets that has access to a job, but oh, I hate my job and I can't get ahead, and that's what I mean.
No, that's okay. I got
you. External circumstance. Again, if I'm just because I get locked up, if I'm an alpha, I'm an alpha. I'm going to be that. Wherever you go, there you are. And so that's what I'm saying when I say down and out.
The next topic I think is phenomenal because, now I have my opinions from the male perspective. So I'm very interested to hear what you think as a woman. Can a relationship survive bad sex?
No. Okay. End of story. Unless you guys are open and allow other people into the equation. But if it's just me and you and it's not good, no. Unless
I agree, right?
Really, really willing. I mean, it depends. Why is it bad? You know what I'm saying? It's not just that, like, oh, he can't get it up, or it's not big enough, or she's too loose, or she's too tight, or she's experiencing pain. Like, there's different levels. Like, I know I've seen situations where the woman physically cannot, and she's just in so much pain that they can't even have. Like, it's beyond bad sex, no sex. So, can that work? And even if you loosen up, like, how good is it really going to be? I think technique can be adjusted because honestly, what works for one person still might not work for your new partner. So you always got to learn new ways to make somebody happy. But if we can't get it together, for me personally, it's a no.
I don't blame you. Shit, I don't blame you. My thoughts on sex for men, right? When it comes to a woman. Because there's definitely a double standard. There's definitely a different way to look at it. Because if a woman says he sucks in bed, nobody ever looks at it and says, well, if you were a little more and you did some, he would be better and you can get him to where you need him to go. Very rarely. A lot of times it's, damn, that sucks for you. When a man verbalizes, yo, she's trash in bed, yo. Women jump, well, there's things that you can do to make her feel more comfortable and help her and da-da-da, right? So there's definitely a double standard when people talk about sex, men's approach. But with that being said, I will say this. I believe, right, sex is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's really not that bad. It's still pizza. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you'll have a guy and here's the thing. I believe that sex between a man and in a loving relationship, not just fucking, in a loving relationship, sex between a man and a woman, right, is if a man is complaining, a lot of times it's more of a reflection of his skill level than it is of the actual sex. Okay. It's more a reflection of his skill level because if she's not very experienced, she's not very good or whatever, your skill level, if it's on 10, can get her up. I don't want to give it a number, but can get her to a workable level.
Better than what is she? Okay.
Here's what happens, right? And here's what happened. I was about to call myself out, but I'm gonna say this. Let's say you meet a very inexperienced woman or very awkward woman, not necessarily inexperienced, just awkward. I believe in this thing called never been kissed. I've met a lot of women in my life that have kids, that have been married. You're like, how, Sway? How? What the fuck because when you mess with them, they're used to like these non-affectionate, non-passionate. You're like, how the fuck did you even get pregnant? Like, this is crazy. You've never been kissed. You know what I mean? It blows your mind. So let's say this, right? You meet a woman that's never been kissed, or she's awkward or innocent, whatever. And you don't have all that much experience. Okay, you're a young guy, and so for the sake of this argument, we're going to give it a scale. She's at like a 2. You're like at a 4. You guys have sex, right?
That
You're
sounds boring.
4. You're at a 4. There's only so much you can teach her. There's only so much you know. There's only so much you can do. Because even if you watch the porn, even if you read the book, even if you do watch the talk show, guess what? It's not so much about learning it. It's about doing it. I can tell you how to shoot a jump shot. But if you're not out there shooting in the gym, you're not going to be able to get the jump shot. Knowing the technicalities of it isn't enough, right? So you're a 4. You meet a woman that's a 2, and the sex never gets past the 4. You're pissed off. She's terrible in bed. I can't do. Is it really about the sex being that bad, or is it the fact that you can't get her past the 4? So then you fuck around and you cheat on her, and you cheat on her with some hoe that's a 10. And this bitch is, yo, what? She wild. She into all that shit. So you're fucking her, and now the sex is a 10. But guess what? You're still a 4. The
Not
sex is a 10 because
right.
she's a 10. It's because she's a 10. And guess what? When she's gone, you're still a 4, maybe a 5 now, because you learned a trick or 2. You know what I'm saying? So to me, sex with your partner, with you in a relationship, has to do with your leadership as far as if you're complaining about it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a world of difference between a woman that enjoys giving a blowjob and a woman that gives you a blowjob because you like it. You know what I'm saying? There's a world of difference. There's a world of difference between a woman that knows how to kiss you on that spot in your ear and a woman that is looking for that spot in the ear trying to figure out what you like. You know what I mean? There's people, you know, so there's levels to this shit. Don't get me wrong. But once you're committed and you're in a loving relationship, right? And you could attest to this. When you're in a loving relationship, you love your man or whatever. Do you not want to be his private porn star? Do you not want? You're fulfilled, because that's the most important part. You're
Right.
fulfilled. You know, you kind of want to open up and be like, yo. And if you trust them, you want to open up. Go. You're a blank canvas. And
But it depends on the partner too, because I think generally speaking, that's definitely the desire, the space that you're in. If you're in a loving relationship, but you can be with somebody who might be a little bit more reserved versus somebody who's just like let it all hang out. Because I've had a partner that was just like, listen, it's whatever, you know. And so there was never for me any shame or no holds barred, because I didn't feel like no matter what, I wouldn't be judged, you know. And even if it was a little too much or whatever, like that person would communicate that. Right. And it was a very different level versus the like, okay, the sex is good, but I'm still going to be conservative and certain things are off limits and nasty, and you know what I'm saying? And so it just kind of forces you to be at a certain level.
These are conversations, right? These are conversations that need to be had. Like, it's like you're 5 years in and you didn't know this. Come on, now I have to look at you like, yo, are you guys even talking? You know, or do you even pay attention to this woman? You know what I'm saying? It's different if you're 6 months in, a year in, oh shit, she's this type of girl. Because now you have to make the choice. Do I stay or do I go? But if you're in a couple of years and you're still having that complaint, that, oh, she's too conservative. Buddy, this is a conversation you should have had 4 years ago, 3 years ago. You know what I mean? The other part of it is, you know, we look at sex from two different lenses. You know what I mean? A lot of times I say this. The only honest man is a man that doesn't want to have sex with you. You know what I mean? Because the guys that do, they're not going to be honest with you. They're going to kind of curve, and they may come off as, yo, they're blunt, they're being honest, but they're always going to curve what they're saying, either to come off like ego-driven conversation. Like, it's either going to come off where I'm going to avoid that topic. That's for another day. More so this.
I'm over here like,
let's stay on topic. Yeah, you're dealing in a loving relationship. See, again, I don't want to keep going back to my book, but I have a chapter in my book called The Mental Orgasm.
Go to the book. That book.
Right. The Mental Orgasm talks about how you're not going to get the fantasy from your girl and your wife, whatever, unless you tap into that aspect of the situation. Unless you tap into the mental aspect of sex, you will never get that part of the fan. Sex will never get to the level that you can get it to. You'll never achieve level 10 ultimate status sex with that person. You're gonna be good. You're gonna have fun. It's gonna be great. But there's levels to this shit, and until you tap into a woman's brain and touch that spot, that's where the real G spot is. And a lot of guys don't have the patience, they don't have the time, and they haven't earned the trust with their partner to do so. Because people think, no, she trusts me with her life. Let me tell you something. You can be trusted with somebody's life outside of the bedroom, and then within the bedroom, she doesn't trust you. You know what I mean? Because she doesn't trust that you're putting her pleasure before your own or before your ego. I always say this. A lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of men, especially my age, learn sex from porn. Okay, we didn't learn it from anywhere. We learned it from porn. And the problem, that's a problem because in a porno, number one, the scene, there's a lot of people making that scene happen, right? But aside from that, it's very male dominated type of I'm getting pleasure out of her pain type of thing. I'm masculine. This is me pushing my manhood on her kind of thing, right? The truth is, when you're in a loving relationship, that's not what it is at all. It has to be a mutually beneficial experience. Pain is only good if she's asking for it. So that doesn't even, you know what I'm saying? That shouldn't be in the equation. You know what I mean? Unless she's asking you for something. That's different. And a lot of guys, like, a lot of married men, they'll talk about, the back door type shit. They'll be like, oh, my wife doesn't do that. Da, 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 da. And then when you ask, you're like, oh, I can see why she wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? I always talk about, I used to work as a phys ed teacher, and I would introduce a sport. Okay, let's say it was soccer. When I introduced soccer, it would be, okay, let's do drills. Let's learn the rules first. Then let's learn how to kick, pass, trap, all that, right? A lot of times in the class, there'd be these kids that were super athletes and be like, oh, come on, let's just play. This is boring. This is stupid. I wasn't doing all that for the kids that knew how to play. I was doing it for the kids that did not know how to play. So that when it was time to play, they could enjoy the experience. They could have fun too. It would benefit men to treat their wives the same way or their girlfriends the same way. Teach them, show them the rules, show them the drills, do the things so that when it's time to play, they have fun and they enjoy.
And vice versa. It's not even you showing her. She gotta, you know what I mean? Let you know where to go.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much to having bad sex. A lot of times bad sex is no connection. Don't get me wrong. This shit, like, it comes every 2 seconds. I can't really get mine off, stuff like that. But at the same token, there is. I always tell guys, I'm like, yo, if you're not getting the warm towel treatment when you're done, or you ask a married couple that've been together a long time, you look at him and you go, when's the last time you got the warm towel treatment? I'm like, damn, that's the last time you had some good sex. You know what I'm saying? That's the last time you had some good sex. You better start. When's the last time she got up and made you a sandwich? You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. But there's I think if there's a mental connection and there's a willingness to please, bad sex is almost a choice. You know what I mean? Because like if you have that mental connection and let's say initially you can't satisfy, but you're willing to go the extra mile because you love them, you know what I mean? There's a difference in somebody who, it's a race. Oh, it's a race. You didn't finish? I finished. You're done. It's a race.
Me. Right.
Time for you to go. Your Uber's outside. You know what I'm saying? There's a world of difference between those types of sex. You know what I'm saying? No connection, mental connection, just strictly a physical act. Yeah, I could see where people would be like, yo, this is fucking trash. I'm not fucking with him no more. Right. But then there's a situation where, like, because in the question that you initially posed was, he's excellent in all other areas, right?
Right.
If you're not willing to reconnect mentally and redo that, we're putting the work, then yeah, I agree with you. It'll never work. You know what I mean? But if you're willing to do that part of it, sex is almost like when there's a mental connection and the life is good and the woman is fulfilled, sex, the physical act is almost the cherry on top. You know what I'm saying? And for men too, it's almost the cherry on top. It's that, we see a lot of people will use sex as a substitute for communication. I say sex is a byproduct of great sex is a byproduct of good communication. You know what I mean? So when you have that, you're fulfilled emotionally. She's able to vent to you, talk to you. He's able to be vulnerable. So the communication's there. It's open flow, trust, everything. And you go into that bedroom, things can happen. There could be things to fix that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? When there's no mental connection and that shit is gone and there's no fulfillment, and you try to go in there, I don't care. I don't care if he has a foot long and he lasts all night and he's the best. Eventually, she's gonna be like, "Yo," because sometimes good sex doesn't keep you there.
Fact.
Sometimes good sex does not keep you there. You know what I mean? It may keep you there a
Well,
little
it makes
longer
you
than
stay
it
a little
should be.
longer than you wanted to, but
Yeah,
yo,
but it's not necessarily. Yeah, sex has to be the byproduct of a good communication and whatever. So no, sex, yeah, it can be a deal breaker in the initial phase when you're first getting together. But I think once people have established that it's more, because think about it like this, yo. Once you're
how do you get to the more phase? So now do we have to wait till we're at the more phase to have sex? Like I need to wait.
no, I don't think you get. You see, I think where I agree with you is I don't think you get to the more phase if that's not intact. You know what I'm saying? I think as the years pass, sex takes a back seat to connection, bonding, emotional, mental. Don't get me wrong, it's still important. But you ever see a 75-year-old couple? Homeboy hasn't had, the ability to have sex in about 4 or 5 years, maybe
Listen,
6, but they love each other. They adore each other because he still provides that spark, that energy that she needs to feel loved and fulfilled. You know what I mean? So, like, that tells me that after a long time. But in the beginning, hell yeah, it's a deal breaker. Fuck yeah, it's a deal breaker. Oh, you don't get blowjobs? Oh, it was nice knowing you. Damn, too bad this didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's do's and don'ts. There's shit that I'm not tolerating. You're like, you don't do what? Are
like
you
I'm
even
not
a fucking grown up?
shit.
Are you even a fucking grown up? Like, why don't you grow up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you adult. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? There's definitely deal breakers and shit. And there's levels to that shit. And within a loving relationship, like I said, within a relationship, it's one thing. Prior to that, it's definitely a fucking deal breaker. Definitely a deal breaker. Well, we're coming up on an hour, and I want to say once again, thank you, like always, for
Always a
chiming
pleasure.
in with me. Always, thank you for coming up with amazing topics today. I thought they were phenomenal. You made some great points, but definitely some stuff to think about, especially that alpha female male dynamic you were talking about. The way you approach because I've always looked at it from one angle only, where
Mhm.
especially with the whole what's popular on TV right now. Guys
Right.
labeling themselves as such and why. And a lot of times they label themselves as that because of how they treat women and their attitude towards women. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. And I, I,
Yeah,
I live to wild animals.
to do with your external presence and what you do versus who you are, you know.
Yeah, can I drop you in anywhere USA and are you still that same guy? Now,
That
remember, a lot of
that
these men are men of color. You feel me? So can I drop you anywhere and you're still that guy? Oh, some people turn beta quick in the wrong environments. You know what I'm saying? So that's my deal about the whole situation. But like I said, thank you so much. I really
was
appreciate
a
you.
pleasure.
Hopefully again next week we can lock up definitely with some fresh new topics. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you see, give us a like, a share, and definitely comment. What are your thoughts? Can bad sex destroy a relationship or is it enough, to end the relationship? Alpha female dynamic. And what was the first topic we talked about? First
Op-
topic was do
Option.
opposites attract? Do opposites attract? So like, share, and let us know you're watching. Ms. Illy, thank you very much. I appreciate you
It was a
like
pleasure.
always.
I'll be back.